So we are continuing, and as you know, that last time itself, just a brief review, we had decided that no amount of noble karma, no amount of actions, thousands of pranayams, charity, donation, they can lead us to Atma Bodha or a sense of Atma Jnana, right? Knowledge of the Atma. Only it can purify the mind. And they are saying, but for the one whose mind has been relatively purified, for them something special is required. And last time we said, Arthayasya nischayo drishto vicharena hitoktatah na snanena na danena pranayama shatena va. The conviction of the truth is seen to arise only from inquiry. Inquiry into what? Who am I? Who am I? And the trustworthy upadesha or the teaching, trustworthy upadesha, right, of the teaching of the teacher who is giving us knowledge of hita. Hita, ahita. What is beneficial to us, what is non-beneficial to us. So they are teaching us the knowledge of reality, yathartha. They are not teaching us about some imaginary gifts, imaginary heaven, imaginary, celestial benefits. They are giving us the knowledge of the reality that you are not merely man, you are not merely woman, you are not merely white, black, yellow, you are not merely a sinner, you are not merely a noble person, you are that. You are Atman. And so when this knowledge is given, then by inquiry, then alone the conviction of the truth arises. One is hearing the truth and one is conviction of knowing that truth, you see. So therefore we can say that they are not saying don't do pranayam. They are not saying that. Because we study about pranayam in Ayurveda, in yoga. No, but they are saying that do not stop there. That is only for the first step of the mind. Now the question arises, as Shankara continues talking, a question that all of us spiritual seekers, in fact Ayurveda lovers also, like people like Dick who is in his 70s, though he thinks he is 16, I like that. But people like my more older students, or mothers, fathers, people who have well-established professions, ways of thinking, they come here and they feel this burning need to change, to adopt new path. So what is the limit? At what age should we start a spiritual journey? And what entitles us to start the spiritual journey? What race we should be? What color we should be? Should we be married or not married? Or should I am married? I should have remained a bachelor. That way brahmacharya would have been easy. Don't these thoughts come to you, right? The married people think I should have remained unmarried. And the unmarried people think if I had been married I would be satisfied, then I can proceed in my spiritual path. Is it not so? So Mandarji, it's a very important reflection upon what is the real qualification upon which we can decide whether the aspirant will benefit from this knowledge or not. So there is a concept of time, which means age, and then there is a concept of desha, which means land, or what is the life or which sphere of material existence we are living in, right? Poverty or richness, India or America, in this loka, bhuloka, this is bhuloka, or in pitra loka, loka of the ancestors, or brahma loka, loka where brahma jnana or knowledge is being given. Where will we get the benefit? So the next shloka which we are studying today says, Adhikarena ma shaste phala siddhir visheshatah upaya desha kaladhyaha santayasyam sahakaranaha. So, sahakaranaha, auxiliary conveniences. Shankara is very clear to us. He says, look here. It is the mental purity, the mental desire, the mental thought-based readiness of the seeker that is the one and only qualification for the spiritual journey. Spiritual journey of what? Of the recognition of the true essence that I am self, I am not body, I am not mind, because my true self is inconstrated and entangled with non-Atma, but I am Atma. This journey, this knowledge, this accomplishment, my dear students, will be achieved by anyone who is working on purifying their thoughts. What kind of kala, what age they are living in, of what age they are, and in what stage of life they are, is only auxiliary. It is only secondary. It cannot impose us. Some examples of this are, for example, in our Shruti, in our oral tradition, which we highly respect, Shruti, it is said that there are 4 ashrams of life. All Ayurveda students know about it. 4 stages of life. And in one place it is said that to follow Brahma Vidya, the knowledge of Brahman, the knowledge of Atman, first we should be in Brahmacharya ashram and be, studying and be in self-discipline. Then we should be in Grahastha ashram, we should engage in relationships, marriage, childbearing. Then we should be in Vanaprastha ashram, slowly detach. Finally, we should be in Sannyas ashram. So, Sannyas ashram is the last stage of life, technically, after we have finished all these obligations. But then, we don't have to stop here. The same Shruti says, but at any time, the knowledge of the changing, impermanent, transient nature of this world and this personality of the Jivatma becomes aware to us. Be we in any ashram, we can begin the journey of Viveka and Vairagya to reach Atmagnan. So that means it is true that for the ordinary person they are saying you can be slowly burnt and purified through the stages of these ashrams, fulfill your duty. But at the same time they are saying even in the very early stage of Brahmacharya ashram, very young age, like you must have read about our lineage, how our Bade Baba at very young age dedicated his life to sannyas, vairagya, and to the vivek, the discrimination, so that he can have knowledge and personal knowledge of who am I. And so therefore, vairagya means what? He did not have to not be married. He did not have to not do a job. He did not have to not carry on with the worldly life, but his spiritual journey began at a very young age. Similarly, Ramana Maharshi at age 16 decided, it is fine. I do not, he had such clarity that what is my journey, right? So many great people at some birth, at very young age itself, in Brahmacharya ashram. Then sometimes in Grihastha ashram, we are married and we are fully involved in the marriage and the politics of the marriage and the codependence of the marriage and the gossip of the marriage and the sorrow of the marriage and the joy of the marriage / relationship, you can say. And then in the middle of it, we suddenly begin to observe how, due to teachings, upadesha from a teacher, and the teaching is not coming from ordinary source, it is coming from unparalleled Vedic marga, Shruti, and it is coming from trustworthy source. Due to Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasana, which you now know about, we are starting to develop a Samyak Drishti. We are beginning to develop a balanced understanding of reality, and therefore in the middle of our married life, in the middle of our heavy, hot and intense relationship, we may suddenly begin our spiritual journey of viveka, discrimination, vairagya, some slight detachment, sadhana, and then ultimately it leads to swanubhava of our pure Atman. So therefore they are saying it is only auxiliary which stage you are on. So many people say, after all Shunyaji, you see I have a little child. No, it is when you have a little child, when you have a mother, but if due to right knowledge, the desire for samyak drishti has begun within us, then at that time the spiritual journey can begin. Similarly, in Chandogya Upanishad, it is said that, the Atmagnan, this knowledge of the self, if it is studied and learned at the feet of a master in Bhuloka, on earth, it is crystal and clear after a while, like you are looking in the mirror. If you get it in Gandharva Loka, is a kind of Loka where celestial music and celestial beings and beauty is going on, they say that knowledge comes, but it is somewhat of an agitated quality. If you get it in Pitra Loka, the Loka of ancestors, it is like a dream. So we have got it in Pitra Loka, but when we come here, we feel it in a dream, but we cannot actualize it. But when you get this knowledge in Brahma Loka, which is the ultimate Loka for this knowledge, it is clear the difference is between the pure sun and its shadow. That's the difference. So even though again there is a difference between, ideal is to get it in Bhuloka or Brahma Loka, but then again the same Shruti, the same Upanishad gives us the example of a Rakshasa, a demon called Virochana, who tried to get this knowledge and made great attempts to get knowledge of Atma Bodha, Atma Gnan, self through Brahma in Brahma Loka. And he was given that knowledge also. He gave the Upadesha. And yet when Virochana came back on Bhuloka, it was found he did not have the adequate knowledge. And do you know why? Because the Shruti concludes, his mind was not pure enough to receive it. So again, you may go to the best land, to the best teacher, to get the best possible Upadesha. But if we have not done internal mental purification, so again and again, it is the mental state, it is that unique vichara, that unique thoughts that are implanted by the teacher from the Shruti, on which you have contemplated, and then you practice Atma Anatma, Atma Anatma. Constant practice, that alone will lead us to the Samyak Jnana or the right knowledge, and slowly the falsehoods, the waves of Maya, avidya, ignorance, klesha, misery, ragadvesha, attachment, aversion, asmita, confounding confusion. Who am I? What am I? Am I this? Am I small? Am I big? Are you telling me the truth? You really think so? Does God exist? Am I really soul? Will I die? Do I die? I don't believe you. I don't believe myself. Confounding doubts. And finally, abhinivesha. Just like a paranoid sticking on to this body, this life, as if it's the only last straw before we will drown. This delusionary sarpa, snake, which we studied in the shloka before, fearing death, when we were actually never born and we cannot die, and I am eternal. And at will, first by default I am taking on bodies, afterwards I am making designer bodies, designer lives, due to understanding of the law of karma. So when slowly, what is the final samyak jnana? We stop becoming scared of death. And why is it important for Ayurveda students to really understand what is death, what is life? Because you people are the givers of life. And you will encounter patients who come to you. Every disease is nothing but fear of death. Every disease is nothing but ignorance about your truth. The fear of death, until it is resolved, keeps coming back as haunting disease. And when this fear is tackled with, disease does not remain disease. It's another play, another Leela. And the Atman is able to make right choices. So we cannot give all this knowledge to the patient on the bed. But if we are living this knowledge, even in bits and pieces, the radiance we have, the oj we have, the tej we have, the pran we have, the vak shakti that we have, the satyam that is flowing through us, the strength that we impart is what is the magic that I talk about. Those of you who are even living a fraction of what we are learning at Vedika, tell me, has your life not improved exponentially? Let me read. A fraction, your life has improved exponentially. A fraction. Ye kya gyan hai? What knowledge is this then? This is not the knowledge made by humans, Paurishya. This is Apaurishya. That is why, from the second shloka, Shankara has said, we want to have Vedic Marg Dharma Parata. We want the Vedas, which are Apaurishya. They are not ordinary. They are not revealed by ordinary people who are only Indians, or they are only Hindu, or they are only Buddhist. I understand. It's beyond religion, beyond sectarianism, beyond color, to the human condition and the human forgetfulness of their truth. And the more we start living with I am Atman, I am not just man or woman, even this vichar, this thought that has come to us through satsang will slowly change our life. So today's understanding is that my age, my profession, my marriage status, my money status, my race, my existence on this loka, none of this come in the way of my deepest desire. If I have deepest mental desire to purify myself, if I am catching myself, in one shloka we learned, let the Atma pick up the Jiva, right? Save yourself by yourself. He taught us. Shruti is teaching us that. So if I am mentally purifying myself, if I am catching myself, catching those negativities, catching those untruths, catching those lies, catching those judgments about others and the world, catching becoming small, when I am making this pure, whether I am 70 or 7, whether the people have called me devil till today or they have worshipped me as God, doesn't matter, auxiliary. Whether I am on this loka or I am on another loka, I am ready. I am ready for this jnana. So we are talking about that the true qualification is internal, not external. Does that relieve any of you? How many of you? How many of us carry confusions, don't we not? Yes. And how many times fundamentalist confusions are created? Are. You know, you have to leave your wife and children and go and live in a mountain, in a cave. And then only your spiritual journey will begin. Are, you are a butcher? Are, butcher, you are eating animal, killing animal, very wrong. But in our own Upanishad, we have the story of how a butcher got nirvana, self-realization, rather than the priest across the temple who was judging him. Because the butcher, you know that story, was only fulfilling his duty and the needs of his family, that is all. So carry on with your life, wear your pretty perfumes, get dressed in lipstick and good makeup, dress up like gods and goddesses, earn a good solid bank account, be a mother, a dad, a father, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, and yet be a sadhu all along, and yet be a traditional, true spiritualist by leading those same lives in a unique way. Do not change anything externally and let internally catch a fire. With this I end.